Hello, my name is Jeb, and I am exhausted with life. I am a firstborn daughter in a male-dominated patriarchal African family. Trauma is my second name. And now, I don't mean that I have given up on life when I say I'm exhausted with life. I mean, I recognize the burdens that have been laid on me, and instead of shoving them under the rug, lying to myself that I'm okay, I am choosing to look at myself in the mirror without looking away, without breaking the glass and saying, "Darling, slow down. What are you going to do now?" I hate having conversations about the bitter lemons that life gives us with a lot of people because their default is always, be positive, take heart. There's this connotation that dwelling in the miserable parts of life is a curse, and one that warrants deeper punishment for daring to linger in the scent of the sorrows of life. I choose to face the things that taunt me because I find beauty in the brokenness that has made me who I am. Running away from these demons that have plagued my life is like running away from myself. How can you know yourself when you shut off the parts of you that you don't want to unearth? And of course, I understand. The pains that linger in our emotional and psychological chambers are harder to accept because they are unseen, and most times, we are reminded by those around us that maybe we are exaggerating, maybe we are overreacting. It's easy to believe them because you have no visible wounds to remind you that it's real. You feel pain, and yet, you cannot see it. So of course, it makes sense to run away. But running away is exhausting. I ran away for a very long time and it was exhausting because you have to shut down even the functioning chambers of your soul just so that you don't have to be reminded. But facing your demons head on is also exhausting because most times you have to fight something you don't see. You know it is there because you can feel it, but you have to do it while getting comments from those around you about how you're wasting your time, about how you have lost it. When you're trying to heal, when you're trying to do anything to hold on to the little life you see in yourself, life is exhausting. But it's not the exhaustion that causes trouble. It's denying your being the privilege to feel the harrowing sorrow that life gives you, to remind you of your humanity. I finally got a package that I've been waiting for since February. Doing business in Kenya is so hard, and logistics is one of those things. Finally, from Joanna K. This is one of my favorites. Ugh. Oh, this is one of my favorites. Kenyan beauty brands. Been there since day one. So I ordered these in February, then they sent them, and then they got lost. And then they had to send them again. Ugh, it's just been a lot. Oh, they would have a card. Oh wow, I really like it when I see a lot of small businesses in Kenya really putting a lot of effort into making their customers feel good, because wow. Thank you card. They even have a sweet. Oh, these are things that actually make me happy. I know it's not a big thing, but it's like, wow, you actually went out of your way to prepare something as beautiful as this. They had ordered 3 lipsticks, and this is what I have. This is one of my favorites ever. I remember when I moved to France, the lipsticks that I moved to with were from this brand, and one of them was Fearless and the other one was Unapologetic. It was a different shade of red, and I just wanted to try these other 2. This is a pink one, and this is like a bright red. Wow, look at that. I should try one right now. I'm gonna go with the red because I love red lipsticks. It has a bubblegum smell. I think it looks quite good. It kind of matches my skin tone. I don't know why, because I feel like I have lipstick now. I want to talk like this. One of the things that I've really been liking about how I've been spending my days is learning. I am using my time to learn so much. This is one of the things that I really value in my life because I don't know, I just cannot exist without always learning. I'm always curious about things. The latest thing that I actually completed is my negotiation class, and I am super excited. This is just one of those skills that everyone needs, not only in business but also in your personal life. It can help you to negotiate with your own parents. And I actually realized that, oh my god, when I look at a lot of the achievements that I have had, it happened because there was like a silent negotiation. There's always been very apparent in my life, especially whatever it is that my parents have done for me, they're not doing it for free. There's always been an expectation, and that is the negotiation in itself. And I think that when you're not aware of that, it can cause a lot of pain in your life. or when the expectations in this silent negotiation are bigger than what you envision, then it causes a lot of miscommunication and pain, because your parents are like, oh, we're gonna send you abroad, and your expectation is like, oh yeah, because they want to have this prestige that their child has gone abroad, and you think that's the only one. But most of the times they also have this expectation that you're going to put aside all of your dreams and look for jobs, or look for well-paying jobs, and work yourself to the bone and send all that money back home to develop the lives of other people. That's essentially what happens in a lot of people's lives. It makes life super exhausting, because if you're in a situation where you are living abroad and there's that kind of expectation, you know very well how damaging it can be, because living abroad in itself is not easy at all. And so you can imagine, on top of trying to survive and finding your footing in a country that doesn't want you, you need to ensure that you're earning money not only to pay your bills, but also to send to people back home. Most times, even the people back home that are receiving this money, they're not using that money any constructively. It's like you're just working yourself to the bone, putting your dreams aside, always telling yourself, you know, it's just for a short time, it's just for a short time. And before you know it, years have gone by. And unfortunately, there's some other people who never really get to live the lives that they want, because, you know, they pass away. I don't know why we've been taught to always postpone our dreams, and yet tomorrow is not promised. The only time that you have is now. If you're using that now to prioritize other people, I think it's something that you should really be doing because you want to, and not because you're trying to do a favor to other people, because at the end of the day, you're the one that has to live with the decisions that you're making. That's why I think it's really important to take a class like a negotiation class. For me, I took it for free actually on the EDX site, edx.org. The other thing I've been doing that is really making me happy is I've gotten back to reading, and one of the things that always makes me realize that I am stressed is when I can't write or read. These are like my comfort things. These are things that touch my soul, and that's why sometimes I find it really challenging to make these YouTube videos, because my primary way of expressing myself is writing. And since I started this new format that actually complements me, I have to write down the script that you hear in the voiceover, and it can be challenging because I am pulling from inside of me. But because again, I've been going through a lot of emotional trauma, psychological trauma, and I've been trying to heal all of that, it's kind of difficult. It's really difficult, but I'm really returning to myself, and I've been finding myself enjoying reading, and I've just been going deep into my father's library, and I'm finding African writers, and I'm like, oh my god, every African needs to be reading African writers, because there's just something about reading a book where you just feel seen and you feel understood without necessarily having to explain yourself. And I think now I'm getting to this understanding why a lot of Africans most of the time just feel lost, because even when you look at the kind of entertainment or literature that is very popular in a lot of African countries, it's like Western kind of entertainment and literature, which is not a bad thing. I mean, it's good to always interact with other people's cultures, but nothing is really ever going to beat reading or interacting with entertainment that has been made by people that not only look like you, that understand the essence of who you are because of the surroundings you were born into or the ethnicities that you were born into. Just reading a book and being like, oh my god, I know exactly someone who is like this. My parent is exactly like this. You feel seen. There's some kind of confidence that you work with when you know that somewhere out there someone exists that understands you without you having to explain yourself, and you can get this through African books, through African poetry. So I just completed reading The Strange Bride by Grace Ogot, and this is an African mythology book. It's about the Dholuo people in Kenya. It's a funny one, but it actually reminds you of the African spiritual practices that really prioritized the connection of the superior power with nature and with us human beings and with death, and the connection of all of that and the cycle. And you're like, Oh, wow. And because I'm in this kind of spiritual journey myself, where I have really distanced myself from religion and I'm focusing more on my spirituality, this makes sense, because one of the things when I started, following my spirituality, the things that really stood out for me was my connection to nature and how I find so much answers and also so much peace in nature. And turns out this is something that our ancestors were doing before. And the one that I'm actually reading right now is The Bad by John Ruganda, and this is a play. It's just so funny. I just like it when I read any book that focuses on politics, and this is one of them. But not just politics, but also how politics intertwines with our day-to-day life. This is about a fallen politician, and you see how he is navigating life without all the glamour of politics and finding himself in that place where no one really cares about you anymore because you don't have a title, and how that is affecting his relationship with his wife and children. I've just spoken for just quite a few minutes and I'm already just feeling exhausted. And I think, yes, life can be exhausting, but one thing that we never really talk about is having periods as a woman and how exhausting it is. There are times that I'm constantly thinking about, maybe I should just get a hysterectomy because I am tired of having periods. And people are always like, oh, if you're getting period cramps, you can just eat painkillers. Darling, painkillers don't take away the horrendous period farts. Painkillers do not take away nausea. It doesn't take away this feeling of disgust that you have towards another human being that is breathing next to you. The irritability, my god, the mood changes. Oh, painkillers don't take away the negative thoughts that most of the time actually just cram up your brain. Did you know that if you're normally stressed or you have a little bit of depression, it's actually exacerbated during your periods? And so you find yourself just having these weird thoughts and you're like, what is happening to me? Painkillers don't take these things away. And it's so unfortunate that we barely talk about these things in our society. It's annoying. Painkillers do not address the fact that no matter how bad you feel during your period, you still have to do things. I still have to cook even when I don't feel like doing it, even when my body doesn't want to do anything, because nobody else is gonna do it. And it's not just cooking, you also have to work. Being a woman in this world is just unknowing, because all these experiences we go through as it pertains to things like period and even motherhood, you're always being gaslighted, being told that you're overreacting. And yet, if men were the ones that had to give birth, that had to go through periods, oh my god, we'd have the best worlds, because people would be working only 2 weeks in a month, because maternity leave would be like 2 years. That's why I believe that one of the revolutionary things or radical things that I actually do during my period is I try to rest as much as possible. I try not to push myself as much as possible. Do you actually know that your period is a marker of whether you are doing well psychologically or physically? That's something that I've been learning, and I'm like, oh wow, it's so interesting. This could actually be a tool that actually helps you to connect with yourself, but we're never really taught these things. And that's why I believe learning should be one of the things that's a priority in your life, because it's really going to help you to realize that most of the times the things that are in your head, the things that are really bringing you a lot of trouble, they're just things that are made up by society. And this is exactly why, again, a lot of people in society don't like people who are always asking questions, because when you start asking questions, then you realize a lot of things don't make sense, and a lot of people don't want others to realize that things don't make sense, because it means that society is going to crumble. That's life. I'm really curious to see how this lipstick does outside in the sun. Oh wow, it looks absolutely fantastic, doesn't it? Ooh, perfect.